Team, a little update before the podcast starts. I'm not too sure what happened, but from about 21 minutes onwards, the mics go off a little touch. You can still hear everything we're saying, but there's a slight ringing noise, so apologies for it. Let's start the podcast. Welcome to episode 12 of Curious Conversations. We are going to do a podcast on the 10 most common problems people face when achieving their fitness goals, and this is something we're quite excited about because it's quite a lot of these we literally speak about on a daily basis to members, to clients, and help them through their journey with this. Honestly, like within my 5 years of coaching now, like the same problems come up over and over again, just packaged differently. And we'll take you through the 10 most common ones and how we kind of navigate through them as coaches. So first one, we're going to go maintaining consistency over the weekends, because this is probably the number one thing that comes up, people struggle with and people fight with on a consistent basis, because the weekend, funnily enough, comes every week. So what's your thoughts on that, how to maintain consistency over the weekends?
I think it's really challenging for people. I feel like this is probably, speaking for both of us, this is probably one of the most common issues that people have when they're kind of trying to achieve like a fitness goal. Because one thing I think about this is, because they've got a routine from Monday to Friday, and then it suddenly changes from Saturday to Sunday, they're kind of coming out of that routine a little bit. And I feel like there's so much more exciting things to do on the weekend. There's food to drink. There's food to drink. there's food to consume. There's drink to consume, and I think that it's so easy to fall off, as I say, because there is a routine from Monday to Friday. You've got your work, and then you're planning your meals, and then you've got everything kind of sorted, and then boom, you hit the weekend, someone asks you to come out, and it's so easy to say yes, and it's so hard to say no, especially if you're kind of already in that routine of going out quite consistently. But yeah, I think that there's so much more exciting things to do at the weekend. That's why people struggle so much to kind of stay on target, whether that's with their calories or kind of try to refrain from alcohol and stuff like that.
100%. The main thing is the routine of it. You've lived your whole life before you're trying to achieve a fitness goal, and you have certain behaviours that are drilled into you, and usually from a young age it stems from, it can be parents, people around you who are like, oh, it's the week, I can't wait for the weekend, can't wait for the weekend, like, because
it's literally just another day. It's so funny how you're like, everybody's kind of like made to think that the weekend is like this like completely different thing. It's literally the exact same day. It's just you're kind of maybe not doing, like maybe you're not at work.
Yep.
You know, and that's what makes it so exciting, I guess.
Yeah, so it's bringing that to awareness that it is another day.
Totally.
And again, this is going to lead into what we say in like the rest of the podcast, but making changes comes from changing your behaviours and making some sacrifices, because you can't get somewhere you've never been before without doing things you've never done. And it's like as simple as that. Like, you need to change your behaviours around the weekends, and that comes from saying no to some things, but also means saying yes to some other things.
Totally.
To your goals.
I want to say as well, like, that's not us kind of coming on here and saying that you need to like have like mad boring weekends every single weekend. But one thing that we do say to most of, like, all of our members that have this issue is like, pick your battles. Like, if you want to get a great result in a certain like kind of period of time, then as I say, you need to pick your battles, and you need to kind of like think to yourself, actually have a bit of a thought process to it. Like, think to yourself, do I need to go out? Do I need to go out for this drink because I was out last week? And do I need to go out for this meal that I can't track because I was out last week? Like, things like that. It's always thinking about like what the best choice is in that situation, because I feel like a lot of the time people don't even think about that. They don't even think like, should I say no to this? Like, okay, I'll just go. And the more and more you kind of allow someone to understand that you actually get to say, you get to like choose whether you go out, you get to choose whether you drink or not. Like, it's just kind of having that awareness towards the weekends is something that's huge for people, I think.
Yeah, and a lot of these could probably be a podcast in themselves.
Totally.
Like, that whole choice aspect of, you get the choice. You do get the choice, but again, it comes from being aware. The next one we want to focus on is pretty linked to the one beforehand. However, you can like dive into it a little bit differently, and that is the fear of missing out, which a lot of people get. I think growing up in Scotland, it's massive, like FOMO.
You know.
Like a social life, drinking at the weekends, and like the thing I always say on this is like usually people like getting some sort of fitness goal is usually tied with fat loss, like for 80-90% of the members here. It's in, and people who I work with as well, out with sin, it's fat loss in general that is the main thing. And like these events are always, unless it's something, a massive event, if it's just like seeing a pal or seeing whatever, again, choosing your battles, it's always going to be there. Like, it is always going to be there. Like, dieting is not forever. You're not doing in a fat loss phase forever. A lot of people think they're going to be.
Totally.
But once you're at the end of that fat loss phase and you're into a maintenance phase where you've built the habits, you've built a little bit of discipline over time, you've built the eating habits that are going to help you for the rest of your life, the events are still going to be there. You can still go out, you can still do this. It just takes a little bit of sacrifice on that side.
100%. I think that's so funny you say that, because I was thinking about that the other week. Like, no matter what age you get to, no matter what situation you are in life, no matter how rich you are or how skint you are, there's always going to be a party somewhere. There's always going to be a party somewhere that you can go to. So I think that's a great way of thinking about it. Obviously, we speak about kind of FOMO. It's again kind of tied to the whole awareness side of things. Like, just understand that there is always going to be a time where you can go out, but having that kind of sacrifice and making sure that you're dialed in for that certain period of time is always going to help you in the long run. So yeah, totally agree. Class. Moving on to the next one. So we've got hitting your protein goal and consistently tracking food. This is again a really, really common one that we kind of have like to deal with throughout the week when it comes to members. And I'd say that I think it's a gradual process with tracking calories. I feel like a lot of people always want to go from 0 to 100. And in terms of tracking, I don't think that's the best kind of way to do it. I think that it's hard if you've not really tracked before consistently. Tracking every single last thing is going to be hard for every single day. So the way I like to approach it with someone that hasn't kind of tracked, I like to see, maybe just give them like kind of a day that they track, and then from there I want to see an improvement from the next day, if that makes sense. So if like they tracked the next week, so if they tracked 3 times that week, I want to see 4 the next, and then I want to see 5 the next, and then the next thing you know, they've got into that habit of tracking. You can take that down quite a lot. You could do 1 meal a day, and you could do 2 meals a day, and things like that, and gradually building it up. It takes time, but see, the more and more you do it, the more and more you kind of get the hang of it, and it feels a lot easier. It doesn't feel as much of a chore, and as technical. So I think that's kind of how I would start someone off in terms of like trying to get them to consistently track. Yeah. What do you think about that?
100%. Like, if you think about it, it doesn't seem like it, but it is a skill. Totally. Tracking food is a skill. And like, if you think of any other skill, riding a bike, for example, if you put a kid on a bike without stabilisers first, they're probably going to fall off it. And like, again, building things up. I think it is important to understand that it is hard, but hard things are usually good for you. Like, and in the long run, it is going to be good for you because it's going to bring that awareness. We talk about awareness all the time. Probably sick of us hearing it, but it brings the awareness of what is going into your body. That's the main thing what tracking does. It does not, like, tracking your food does not make you lose fat straight away. It gives you awareness of how much is going into your body. Totally. And then you know, like on your input.
100%. And as you say, like with the dieting as well, dieting isn't forever, but tracking isn't forever as well. Like, you don't need to track every single day, like especially when you're maybe coming out of that diet phase, but see what you take away from that kind of diet phase and the weeks or months of tracking. It gives you a little bit of an idea of like when you've maybe stopped tracking, what like certain things have, even if you don't have a barcode to track. Yeah. Like, so if you might look at a a rice and chicken and like with a bit of sauce on it, and but before you've tracked, and you might be like, I've got no clue how many calories in that, but you might go through a period of kind of dieting, and you know what kind of like what certain things have in terms of like calories, and then you can maybe look at and kind of guesstimate and give a kind of rough guesstimate, so it helps you a little bit more in the future. I think that's always like so beneficial for people if you've not kind of tracked before. Having that experience of tracking is always going to help you in the long run.
110%. Like I always talk about this. I think it was Jen I was talking about this too. And like a lot of people do like nutrition in university, but I reckon that you would learn more about food in a year of tracking your food consistently, or like 90% of the time,
Totally.
than you would being a nutritionist for a year in like uni, like learning about like certain courses and stuff. Honestly, it's the biggest learning curve, and probably the most important part of education around food is knowing what's in it.
Yeah.
Knowing how many calories, how much energy is going into your body through eating it. You'll eat things on a consistent basis. Then when you start tracking it, you're like, holy shit, I've been eating that my whole life.
Yeah.
And I've just realised it's 1,000 calories.
That's the crazy thing with like our mum and dads and like the older generation, like they've like never tracked a single thing in their life, and they genuinely just like look at food as food.
Yeah.
Like I just look at food as calories, and I think that's just kind of how we've developed as people. But you see like the tendencies that like maybe mums and dads or grands and granddads like pick up, and you're like, that fucking hell, Jesus Christ, like all that like deep frying the fucking chips and all that, you're like, fucking how many calories are in that? But that's what it is. I think that it's such an important thing to get good at.
100%.
As you say, it's hard, but it takes time.
We mentioned at the start of that about the protein goal as well, so I'll go into a little bit of detail about the protein goal. A lot of people struggle with protein goal, and again, it's a step-by-step process. When like anyone comes on board, we always give them a protein goal to aim towards, but the main thing I always think of is structuring it throughout your day. So try and have a protein-based meal with all your meals. So for breakfast, lunch and dinner, try and make sure you're having 30 grams minimal of protein.
Would you say in terms of like having a meal, would you say prioritise the protein before carbs and fats?
Yeah, always. I always have a protein base and then base everything
they just
around
let
that.
the carbs and fats kind of mix in with whatever they are.
So proteins like dairy products, Greek yogi bowls, like as we love them, you know.
Bowls, man,
everyone who follows on Instagram knows that. All meats, fish, like all these things are always the base of my meals, breakfast, lunch and dinner, and then I'll have snacks throughout the day if my protein goal isn't hit. Like if I want an extra, I don't know, an extra shake or a protein bar or whatever, or even just ready-made, like chicken, ready-made, ham, anything like that. That's just super easy snacks to get into that will just make you help get towards that protein goal.
1,000,000%. I feel like there's so many people that underestimate like how little they're actually eating in terms of protein, and it does seem like see when you're not getting the chance to hit your protein goal and you're like wondering, how can I not hit this? What am I doing? Like there's on Trainerize you can actually access like people's MyFitnessPal from that, and you can see exactly where they're going wrong. Like that could be down to like maybe having too much snacks that don't have any protein in them. That could be down to maybe like not having a breakfast or something like that. Like you can see exactly where the member or client is going wrong with that stuff. It could be down to their breakfast, and see as soon as you maybe critique that one thing, so say for example it is their breakfast but their lunch and dinner is looking pretty good, all you need to do is kind of say swap out the toast and jam for like a yogurt bowl with a little bit of protein in it, and boom, that's you got like an extra 15 grams or 50 grams of protein added on to what you were already eating, and that could be the difference between you hitting your protein goal and not. So that's what I always like to look at when members are having issues with their protein. Take a little look at their MyFitnessPal, and you can see exactly the kind of patterns and kind of where they're going wrong, whether that's breakfast, lunch or dinner.
Yeah, always. And another really easy one to do is the protein things that you're having, just have more of them. So if you're having 100 grams of chicken,
with your dinner each night or every second night, whatever, have 180 grams, have the full chicken breast, and that will just take you up towards it,
Yep.
fill you up for longer, especially in a fat loss phase. That's gonna help a lot.
That's one thing to say as well. Like, the more protein you eat, the more satiated you're gonna be.
Yeah.
Like, every single time when I've had a protein based meal, and it is for everyone because it's a lot more dense. Like, protein is a lot more dense than carbs and fats. And every single time when you have like a kind of protein based meal, you always feel a lot more satiated than you would if you had like a kind of carb or fat based meal. So that's, as you say, it's super important when it comes down to kind of if your goal's like fat loss or weight loss.
100%. Next one, let's go into this quick fix versus lifestyle change. So a lot of people who they'll see certain things on social media, they'll hear about certain things, and it's the quick fix mindset versus actually changing their lifestyle. And like, they are complete different ends of the spectrum. Yeah, like the lifestyle change is hard. It's really hard. Quick fix is usually something that it's in the name. It's a fix and it's very fast. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's the whole kind of like 6 minute abs kind of thing. I can remember when I was younger, just like typing up 6 minute abs, and I was like looking after the 6 minutes. I was like, "Where the fuck's my abs?" But that's exactly what it is. Every single person, well, most people, when they're kind of getting into their kind of fitness journey, they want it as quick as possible. But if you take a little look and kind of step back and kind of look at the situation, the lifestyle change is what's going to actually help you. Like, you don't want to just kind of get to like a 6 week or an 8 week period, finish that, and then that's you done forever. Fitness and like eating healthy, you're going to need to do it the rest of your life. Hate to break it to some people, but you're going to need to do it for the rest of your life. It doesn't just automatically go away when you've achieved a certain kind of physique or a certain kind of fitness level. So I think that the quicker you get into the mindset of, I actually want to kind of change the way I approach my life in terms of like a kind of fitness and health aspect, the better your life is going to be. Because I think like I've been kind of guilty of it as well, like kind of trying to get that quick fix mindset, and it gets you absolutely nowhere. Almost kind of sets you back a little bit, keeps you in the same place that you did when you started. When you get to the end, like, what happens now? Like, there's nowhere to go when you try and get to that, and it's all intense. Again, spoke about it at the start. It's that 0 to 100. You can't go anywhere from there. So I think that it's more about like the kind of one small step instead of like the 3 big huge leaps that you won't be able to sustain, if that makes sense.
100%. I think that like when you deep it, like, your health is everything.
Totally.
It genuinely is everything. If you don't have it, that's the only thing you're looking for. And like at the end of the day, a quick fix is you like the whole keto diet we're talking about
Totally.
earlier on, or whatever it is. Insert any sort of diet that it might work for a period of time, but it all stems towards the one thing. And the main thing I always think of is trying to fit, like, a lot of people trying to fit health around their life, but really we should try and fit our life around our health, because that's the most important thing.
100%. Totally. Definitely. I think that, as I say, so many people like think that they can like maybe get to a certain place and then it all just stops. Like, it never stops, and it will never stop. You're always going to need to work on it. Always going to need to work on it. It's like social skills. You're always going to need to work on your social skills, I feel. So yeah, totally agree.
Amazing. Hitting a step count again. A big one we come up with
Common,
on a daily basis. Hitting a step count. Like, when you, again, this is probably goes back to awareness of tracking. Like, a lot of people beforehand, before like smartwatches, before smartphones, probably didn't know how many steps they took on a daily basis, didn't know how much they moved. But with almost everyone having either a smartwatch or definitely having a smartphone, you now are aware of how many steps you do. And with like our society having such a sedentary lifestyle, with office jobs, with just jobs that we don't particularly move around a lot, we need to it brings awareness to shit. I'm not actually moving very much at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, like what's your thoughts on step count? Like going from a low step count to trying to build that a little bit more.
I think that it is, again, small increments to start. Small increments to start. I feel like it's one of those ones, I don't care how stressful or how like long like your days at work are. Every single person has got 20 minutes in their day to get like an extra few thousand steps. I think that it's about putting it to the forefront of your mind, putting it to like making sure it's a priority. Like I had a member that was like ticking all the boxes, but he just couldn't get over that kind of step count. That's all we were looking for, and it wasn't until I actually allowed him to understand all he needed to get was like an extra 15 minutes outside, and sometimes that's all it is. People like kind of underestimate what they can do in 15 minutes in terms of steps. So what I like to think about with someone is just like making sure that they're blocking out time for it. Like if you've got a calendar, make sure you're blocking out time for it. When you get home, don't take your shoes off and jump onto the couch. Put your walking shoes on and get out there. Stick the headphones in and literally 10 to 15 minutes, and then boom, you can go kind of get on with the rest of your day. It's about being intentional with these things. You need to make sure that, as I say, it's at the forefront of your mind. You're making it a priority, because if you don't make it a priority, you're always going to be a little bit short. I think you're always going to, how am I can't fit this in, but no, you can fit this in. You're just maybe staying stationary for your lunch break. You've got a 45-minute lunch break and you're sitting on your phone for 30 minutes, you know? Yeah. You've got those 15 minutes to get out, get the body moving, and get an extra, 2,000 to 3,000 steps. So that's the way I like to think about it.
That's a massive thing, is utilising small pockets of time you have throughout your day. So lunch is a perfect example, and yeah, like we live in Scotland, and probably 99% of the people listening to this do as well. And sometimes it's raining outside, sometimes it's cloudy outside, but being a little bit prepared for that is probably going to be a big one. Having a big jacket, having shoes that are fine. Like if your goals mean a lot to you, like that's an example. Like preparing for that weather, but also I've got a lot of people now have indoor treadmills that they use in their house. Myself, I prefer going outside, but I know a lot of people don't like the rain, don't like whatever. So having like one of them, the little walking pads, I think is a great idea. I've seen people have so much success with them. Like making the rule, I can't watch telly unless I'm doing some steps. Totally. Like little rules like that actually do help a lot.
100%. I think that there's a kind of few ways you could approach it as well, but I feel like a lot of the time, I don't know about you, kind of probably speaking like for both of us when I say this, a lot of the time when people like you ask them why they've not hit their steps, they're kind of like, oh, I just wasn't feeling great that day. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that people don't have like those days, but it's about thinking about the bigger picture. I think it's about being able to detach your emotions to your actions. I love that saying, like, don't allow your emotions to dictate your actions, and it's huge. And I feel like the more and more you focus on doing that, the better success you're going to see in terms of your step count, because there's a lot of the time where you'll come home and you're low on steps and you're like, oh, I'm knackered, I'm fucked. But you need to remember, when you're kind of about to make that decision whether you go out or not, remember why you're doing it. What is the reason why? You're not going out there just to get steps. You're going out there because you want to improve yourself. You want to get better as a person. You want to become a healthier person. So like thinking about things like that is huge, and you can do that. And you can also like get steps throughout the day as well, like by doing certain things. Like say for example, you're going for your food shop, park a little bit further away from the shop. If you're needing to park your car at work, park like a good few spaces away from where you actually work, or park round the corner or something like that. It's just small things like that that kind of get you to where you need to be.
100%.
Any other tips on the steps and stuff like that? Is there any kind of things that you would maybe say to a client or a member that is struggling to get them?
Again, it's what you said at the start, small increments. So if your step goal is 6,000 and you're not hitting 6,000, you're hitting 3,000 a day, just upping that to 4,000, then on to 5,000.
Yeah.
Like they small increments really do help, because a lot, like, yeah, me and you, maybe like if someone says to us, oh, go and do an extra 3,000 steps a day, you'll probably be like, yeah, I'll do it. But a lot of people aren't like that though.
Yeah.
A lot of people need a little bit less to move towards. So that first off, like specific goals that are also that are easy enough to hit, that aren't going to overwhelm people. In terms of tips though, yeah, parking away from like further things. Planning in activities is a big thing that involve movement. So if you've not seen your pal for a while, going for a coffee and a walk rather than just going for a coffee is a good one. Planning in any activities, hill walks, like Scotland's actually beautiful. Like it genuinely is. We went to Clonakil last week, and like actually just going up and seeing the views, even if it is a cloudy day, is unreal. Like getting outside more is a massive thing. It's so good for your like mental health as well.
Totally agree as well. I think that one of those tips as well, like if you like to do a little bit of sports as well, if you like to play badminton, honestly you're like you underestimate how much steps you get playing like at a racket sport or for an hour, as you say, exactly. So yeah, I think that's top class.
Yeah, get involved in that. Here's a big one: juggling a busy life and health and fitness.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier with fitting health around a busy life, but I'll always say we are all busy. Like we fill our time with things, but learn to do it when you're busy. That is probably the most important thing, because we always think in our mind, I'll wait a month when things aren't as busy, but in a month's time there's going to be things that come up that make you busy. There's always going to be events, things happening, friends like, I don't know, getting married, friends getting engaged, like there's always things happening. And work as well. Your work, it never dies down. Like no one's work ever dies down. You're always constantly busy.
Yeah, because it's always like this week it's been so busy, but I'll get back to it the next, and then the exact same thing happens again.
Yeah.
So as you say, I think like being able to do the thing while being busy is huge. And as I said on the last one, like I don't care how busy you are, every single person on this earth is got 30 minutes to an hour to spare. Whether that's made by either getting up a little bit earlier or going to sleep a little bit sooner, like things like that. I think that it's hard, because I feel like a lot of the time so many people are busy, but as you say, it's about kind of making it that kind of lifestyle instead of like just trying to kind of do it when you're not busy, and you know, like realistically you're never not going to be busy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough, but yeah, I think there's ways to get around it.
One I always talk about is, a lot of people say I need to find the time, and we don't ever find time. We create it.
Yeah,
like we create it through like being aware of certain things and putting it in our day. Like yeah, we have like quite a lot of spare time in our day to train, etc. We're in a gym. However, if your goal means a lot to you and there's a big why behind it, then you will find a way and you will create that way. It's just about finding that why, which is actually one of the things we talk about, and that is chasing a shiny object. That's our next topic: chasing a shiny object, having a why behind the goal. Do you find importance in that?
Totally, 100%. Because I think a lot of the time when you ask someone like why they're kind of coming on board, the like they say pretty like generic things like I want to lose fat, I want to build muscle, and it's not. It's quite vague. Like that's not what they want. They want to look in the mirror and be proud. They want to be able to fit the dress that they used to be able to fit into, like things like that. Like until you actually start chiming into that emotion of yourself, then it will be hard to kind of not chase the shiny object. I feel like a lot of the time people need to understand their why and not other people's why. they see it all the time. Like, I feel like we're in such a kind of society of like seeing what everyone else has got and seeing everyone's like kind of beautiful, amazing, fun life. And you're like, how have I not got that? I want that. And it's so easy to get caught up in it, don't get me wrong. Again, I get caught up in that a lot of the time, but you don't know what that person's journey was. You don't know what type of genetics that person has. You don't know like what that person had to sacrifice to get to where they are just now. So it's easy to kind of look at the shiny object and be like, I want that, but it's not until you actually start to chime into what you truly want, like think about why you want to make the change. There's obviously something that's like kind of sprung to your mind, like why you want to get healthier, why you want to get fitter, and it's not just down to wanting to get fitter. You want to be able to play with your grandkids. You want, when you're older, you want to be able to kind of be strong to provide for your family, and kind of be able to be like kind of physically available to the people around you. So I think it's so important for people to understand, not chasing what other people want, but chasing what you want.
Yeah, and Ryan actually spoke about this today to us and to some of the members of Sydney, put in a message, and it's take 10 minutes, 15 minutes out your day, any day, have a coffee, don't have any distractions, have your phone away, and actually just think, what do I want and why do I want it? Start with the why, because that's like I always say, if you imagine you as a car and the goal is the destination. The why is the fuel in the car that will get you there, like that will drive you towards it. And like having a strong why behind something, and it's something that means something to you. So it might be, a big one I always hear is like someone who has young kids or whatever, I want to be a role model to my kids. And like when you think of that, that is a strong why.
Huge why.
That is a strong why. I want to be a Jack Dad.
Jacked Dad, bro. That's
coming
happening.
back to the Jack Dad. But yeah, like things like that. It may be something completely different for you. It might be I want to push myself out my comfort zone so that I can build a little bit of confidence. I've never had confidence in myself, but I want that. So that's my why behind joining the gym. Like there's so many different things that you can tap into. So yeah, 10-15 minutes. Like schedule a bit of time in. Have a coffee with yourself, go take yourself into, I don't know, go to a park or something, into some nature, and think on it, because a lot of us are probably chasing something that we don't particularly want, and we don't know why we want it.
Yeah, a good question to ask yourself when you're kind of having that coffee is, am I chasing what I want or am I chasing someone else's want? That's a huge question to ask yourself, and there's probably a lot of people out there that are kind of as I say, kind of chasing someone else's goal, just because they thought it looked great. But yeah, like I think as well, it comes to the question that Ryan put into the group chat. I think that it gets to a point where you've maybe started like a fat loss journey, and you get into like maybe like 3 weeks, and it starts to get a little bit like the excitement's died off a little bit. So that's what drives you. That's what makes you progress after those kind of 3 weeks, because you've still kept on to the why. You're understanding the reason why you're doing it still. A lot of the time people are quite impulsive when it comes into something like that. Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then when it starts to actually kind of get a little bit harder, they can't progress forward because they've not attached that why to the journey, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. Family and partners not supporting the goal. This is a big one, and that usually people don't mean it, like in the like don't actually mean to do these things, but they do. And this is when you change your life. You might change your life quite drastically. You might change into almost like a different person to a certain degree, and you do that. Like you evolve definitely throughout a fitness journey. You evolve. I've spoken about this in the past. You've spoken about it as well. You change as a person when you start working on certain things, and some people don't like that. Like family, friends, can even be someone as close as your partner, not supporting it. And I've had this. I've spoken about this in detail with quite a lot of people before. It's a very tricky one to navigate. But the people in your life who want to support you and want to love you, if you
have that conversation with them at the start. That's a big important thing, that you're probably going to be going through quite a big change soon. Like, it's natural. Like, I'm going to be changing certain behaviours, and I would love your support on this, because like people, like you hear mums and dads, they'll say certain things that like they've always said, and they've probably heard it from their mum and dad, like what Ryan was talking about earlier on, of all your life's for living. Like, if you're not going out at the weekend, all your life's for living. Like, it goes back to FOMO and etc. But there's little things that people might not support you, but you just need to have that conversation with people and be straight up. Like, tell them your why, what we're talking about in the last one, why you want to do something, tie a little bit of emotion to it. And they're hard conversations, they're very difficult conversations, but the difficult conversations are always the ones that are the most important and will get you the furthest.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that one thing is for sure is not everyone's going to understand why you're kind of making that change. And I don't think it's I don't think it's necessarily like I don't necessarily think everyone should, because if you're not kind of going through that journey yourself, then you're not going to understand it. But the only thing is, like, the only thing you should be kind of doing is kind of making sure that that person is kind of supporting you and kind of, and not like maybe trying to pull you back into old habits, because it's so easy for someone to do that. Say for example, like you're at a family party and someone's like, oh, just have that cake, just have that. Like, when you're in a kind of fat loss diet, it can throw you off. It definitely can throw you off, and then starts to make you feel like starts to make you kind of question yourself. You're like, oh, maybe I should have that cake. Maybe I should have that. Like, oh, what's a wee cake gonna do? And it's like, just kind of, it can affect you a little bit in a kind of negative way when your family don't really understand, or your partner doesn't really understand, like, kind of why you're doing this. It's for you becoming a better version of yourself, and as you say, having a discussion about that and allowing them to kind of somewhat understand it. I feel like people if they're not going through that journey, they might not understand it, but it's allowing them to understand it as much as possible to where they can actually support you throughout it. So I think that having conversations with families and kind of friends and partners and stuff like that is crucial, especially when you're kind of wanting to make that whole kind of lifestyle change.
Yeah, and that's something I never actually used to understand. And when I had certain goals and I really wanted them, and others used to say certain things or not support me, I used to get annoyed at them.
Mm-hmm.
But then the more and more I learned about it, is that it's so true. They're not in your mind. They don't want that goal in particular. So
Totally.
having the open discussion around it is always, again, it's just bringing awareness to them what your thoughts are, because all the thoughts are in your head.
That's a huge thing for like say for example, like my mum. She's like, she doesn't do any like kind of fitness or anything like that. She's a dog walker, but she's like, I'm only gonna walk if I'm getting paid for it and stuff like that. So she doesn't necessarily like understand like why I do these things, and she doesn't have a clue whatsoever, and she like maybe sometimes thinks I'm a bit crazy for doing the certain things that I do, but she does support me, and that's because I've had the conversation with her, and I've allowed her to understand why I'm doing these things, and that's what it is. The person doesn't need to understand you, but I think that as a good family member, they should support you.
100%. I guess that's such a big one. Let's go on to sleep. Okay, everyone sleeps, and having a bad night's sleep can be as a parent or just like a general person having a bad night's sleep. I think my heart goes out to the parents, to be honest.
Totally.
Because every parent of a young kid, like they will always go through the stage of not getting much sleep, and what not getting much sleep does is it not only just makes you tired the next day, it also makes you a lot hungrier the next day as well. What happens is a hormone is produced in your body called ghrelin when you've not had enough sleep, which naturally is a hunger hormone, which then makes you hungrier the next day. And sleep can be a big one. A lot of people don't know that having a shit sleep, not having enough deep sleep, REM sleep, will affect the next day in terms of hunger levels and your decisions to make food a lot harder.
Probably one of the most important things to focus on, like especially when you're in a kind of fat loss phase, like as you say,
if you get bad sleep and poor sleep, it's going to affect your hunger levels, and you're already hungry. So really honing in, like, like, and on quality of sleep is so important. I think it's so important anyway. It's got huge like kind of like effects on like muscle building as well. Like you need to make sure that you're fully recovered, and the best kind of recovery supplement is sleep. So as you say, like I can only commend the people that have got like small children that kind of need to be seen at night and stuff like that. I definitely couldn't do that. But yeah, I've actually I didn't realise that, like the whole kind of ghrelin, I didn't realise that until maybe like 2 years ago or something like that, and I actually started to like notice it. I started to like think, oh, I had a bad sleep there. I'm hungry. I want to eat everything in this fridge. But yeah, I think it's crucial for recovery, and kind of your diet as well.
Yeah, for the parents, we can't we can't particularly say much on it, but it's maybe just understanding that fat loss is going to be a little bit harder and maybe take a little bit longer. But having the awareness of it is still like great knowledge to have.
Totally.
Comparison is the thief of joy, as
Comparison is the thief of joy.
We chat about it quite a lot, like to each other, but also with people who we work with. And what's the biggest kind of comparisons that you hear about, like on a daily basis or
in the gym,
weekly basis in the gym?
I think that, especially because we work in a small group personal training facility, that it's so easy to kind of come through the door as maybe like a newbie, and see all sorts of different people, whether that's female or male, and look at how much weight people are lifting, and how easy they're lifting it, and it makes you think to yourself, I totally understand that. I've actually had like 3 to 4 conversations about this one topic in the last week, and that's from like maybe like relatively new people coming in the door and seeing people that have been with us for so long. I'm talking years, and they're like, how are they lifting that and I'm not? And it sounds silly to think like, oh, they've been lifting they've been lifting weights in the gym for so much longer, but it's so hard to kind of like not look at it in that sense. But it's about kind of making sure that you're reminding yourself, like, I'm just in the door. They've been doing it for so much longer than me, and it's hard to kind of grasp because you want to be there, but it's about the process that gets you there. It's the consistent reps, and the over time you build up that base, and I think that it's hard coming into any gym. Obviously, you as I say, we've got a kind of small group facility, so everyone's quite like close together, so you see everyone working and stuff like that, and in a commercial gym as well. But it's about kind of thinking about your journey. I think a better way to think about it is not comparing to yourself to the people around you, but comparing yourself to yourself 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, think about, that's what I was saying to one of our members, like, think about how far you've came on since joining here. Like you couldn't do a back squat with the bar on your back for like 5 reps with 20 kilos, and now you're doing 40 kilos for 8 reps. Thinking about things like that is what's going to allow you to progress and feel better in the gym. You're not comparing yourself because you don't know what these people have done. You don't know their genetics. They don't know, like, it's a huge thing to think about. So comparing yourself to what you were 4 weeks ago or even last week is what you should kind of lean in towards.
100%. And like, on comparison on a completely different topic, which I see about a lot as well, is fat loss results. Like, we see a lot of fat loss results within Sin, or like out with as well on social media. And the thing with fat loss result is everyone's starting photo is completely different from like the end photo. Like you'll see some people 12 week shred, for example, or like 4 months shred, and they've lost all this weight in 16 weeks, and they're like shredded. They've got like this muscle mass and stuff. Like, if you're just starting out in the gym, you've you've not built like a foundation of muscle, you've never really dieted before, it's going to take longer than you think it's going to take. And yeah, like me dieting the very first time compared to me dieting now, like if I dieted for 12 weeks at the start, I would have had so many bumps, so many like roadblocks, I would have chucked it like halfway through, etc, etc.
That's what I was going to say, sorry to cut you off.
Right.
People like they also don't take into account like the failed attempts that these people have had. Like that's a like, gradual build up, and I think that's a really really important kind of aspect towards like getting a result. Like there's been so many times where these people have failed a diet, or they've maybe done the wrong thing and slipped up and then fell off the bandwagon and things like that, but they get to that point, build all that kind of experience up, and then boom, it comes to a point where they just fully lock in, and then that's when they can kind of get that result. It takes kind of a long while to kind of get your head around like the whole kind of transformation aspect of things.
People don't see all the failed attempts, they see the win at the end, and that goes with everything. That goes with like athletes at the top level, tennis players for example, are like winning Wimbledon. They don't see all the failed attempts, all the crying, all the almost chucking it. Like all that goes for any kind of profession as well. Like they see the finished product, and yeah, like that's why comparison is such a. It's natural to compare. Like that is like as humans, that's what we do. It's what you do with that comparison as well. If it gets you down and you compare a lot to other people who are in a completely different position to you, in a completely different life circumstance, it's almost pointless. Because yeah, again, a person with young kids, a single mum with young kids, comparing to a PT who lives in a gym, who can train any time he wants pretty much, like has access to so much time in his day to do what he wants pretty much.
Literally the opposite person.
literally the opposite person, the opposite life circumstances, and people will like compare, see the photos of here's week 1, here's week 12 of me in this diet, and they'll be like, how can I not do that? So it's just the awareness of people have completely different life circumstances and completely different experiences to you beforehand.
1,000,000% totally agree.
Last one, that is 9 done. Last one is number 10, and this is something that, of course, a lot of people, it stops people actually starting their fitness journey within the gym, and that's the fear of looking stupid or not knowing what to do in the gym. It's something that if you ask like any person who's started what actually like stopped you getting started beforehand, this is usually what it is. The fear of looking stupid, fear of other people looking at you, not knowing what to do. And yeah, what's your thoughts on it?
Mate, I'll be honest, I can totally relate to this in terms of when I was first starting my kind of fitness and health journey. I think that I first started off at Belhouston Sports Centre, and I'll be honest, mate, I had absolutely no clue what I was doing, and I could really like kind of feel that gym anxiety. It's funny to actually talk about it because I've never really addressed like gym anxiety before for a long while anyway, and it's so true because like you're looking at all these mad funny machines and all these funny exercises, and you're like, what is that? And I think that the way I developed was one, having kind of people around me that kind of knew what they were doing, and also doing a little bit of research, watching YouTube videos and kind of educating myself a little bit about it. But I think that it's definitely a thing, and I think that having people around you or having coaches that know exactly kind of what they're doing and can show you the ropes, especially when you're a newbie, I think it's crucial. Like if you want to start the gym, get a coach or get multiple coaches.
Yeah.
I think that's how you're going to develop the quickest, is if you have someone watching you over that is a professional and kind of knows exactly what they're doing, what to look for, what they want you to do, what they don't want you to do. I think it's crucial, and that's kind of how you overcome like that anxiety of like being in the gym, is because the more and more you come into the gym and you're practicing these exercises with that coach or with that person, the more confidence you build. It's like repetition. and I think that it's definitely something that is common, but something that you can definitely get over.
100%. I've got some stories as well. Mate, it's funny. Your first ever place was Bells and Sports Centre. So was mine.
Mad.
And the thing I always think back to, I was 14 when I first went in for a gym session with one of my best pals, Greg. He'll probably be listening to this. And we were like, it was like, I don't know, maybe say February, March time. We were like, right, summer's coming up. We're gonna get a 6-pack for summer. And then
6
we're
minute abs.
yeah, we actually talked about this thing called 6-pack for summer. So like, we would say like, oh, I'm going to the gym after school. Aye, 6-pack for summer. So like, that's what we would go to the gym, and I'm not even kidding. Do you ever remember the
I know exactly what it is as well. I know exactly what it is.
So to the listeners, it's like an ab thing on the
It's like
ground.
when you
It's like a
strap
big
in.
C, and like no, it's not the machine. It's like it's on the ground, and it's like a C shape, and you hold on to the top, and you like crunch up, like so it's like a half crunch you're doing, right? And we used to go and do 1,000 of them. I'm not even joking. So like we would do, I think it was 50 reps, 20 sets. So it would take us like half an hour, 40 minutes. And like when I look back at that, I just think that is so funny. Like, it's, like I look back at it and like I love that.
Yeah.
It's just like stupid and like
I
I
incorporate
laugh
that
at it.
into my routine.
Yeah. I'm going to actually start doing it again. Yeah, because my abs are starting to
I know, it's not the bed with all those calories.
But yeah, like as Zayden says, I wish like if I could turn back time when I first started out the gym, would be to get a coach ASAP and get someone who could monitor the way I move, and like it's a cheat code. It really is. And yes, it's an investment. It's not cheap. It never is, but usually things worth investing in aren't. And yeah, like Sin is a great example. People come in here who are complete beginners or who have kind of been in the gym but not really found that, and having 2-3 coaches there who can literally assess your movement patterns, see the way you move, and be able to give you certain movement patterns and even better scale things back so that like you can build up to the bigger movements that are going to help you within like your actual result, whether that is strength based, fat loss, muscle building, or just general lifestyle.
That's the kind of good thing about being a coach and kind of seeing like kind of newbies come into the kind of four walls of Sin and like actually see the development of them, and you're seeing the progression that they're making is so good to see, because you can see a lot of the time when people do come in, it's a hard environment to mix into when you first come in, but it's not until you actually like mix in with the people, mix in with the coaches, you see that it's like the best place to be in terms of development within your kind of fitness goals in the gym.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool to see like the development of the members kind of progressively throughout the kind of weeks and months. Like someone coming in, like not, as I say, not being able to do like a back squat to back squat and like a lot of weight is just so rewarding. And I think that finding your place is crucial.
Yeah.
Finding your place and finding your coach, finding your coaches is crucial. So yeah, I think that what we've got here is something that it works for everyone. That's what I always like to kind of say. It works for everyone, no matter what type of person you are, no matter what shape you are, what height you are, what gender you are. You'll fit in perfectly here, because every single coach is so welcoming and every single member is so welcoming as well. So yeah, I think that finding your place is super important for your progression.
Yeah, like do you know when I first started here and I was getting to know members a lot better, like that's what I tried to do at the start. I tried to speak to a lot of members, and the amount of people who said this is the first thing I've ever stuck to, and 5 months, 6 months down the line, and now I understand why. It's because the level of care you get in from the get-go. Like
Totally.
you get taken from someone who is probably very lost in the gym, like I have no idea how to do that big scary exercise, like that machine over there, I've got no clue, to being someone to be able to go through a demo with you, literally take you through the movement pattern, get you to try it, give you little tweaks, and then you then able to build up towards a maybe a bigger movement. And having that is like, it's huge. It is
Totally.
it is like Massive. Yeah.
1,000,000%. It's the attention to detail at the end of the day. I think like we're all kind of on the same kind of wavelength when it comes to coaching and how we want to help members the way we do it, and the kind of service that we provide. And I think that, as I say, it comes back to like finding the right place for you. And I feel like if you were to ask any member, that it's the biggest reason why they've kind of stuck with this is because of all those things that we kind of spoke about, is the attention to detail, the problem solving, the community side of things. So yeah, I think it's huge.
Yeah, and that's with Sin taken from beginners to someone who's intermediates, but it's like it literally almost fits everyone here. Like you've got people doing their first Hyrox, you've got people who are doing their fifth Hyrox who are like really good at it now.
Totally.
We've got people doing half marathons, loads of people are signing up for half marathons and stuff now. Probably them 1 year ago thought I could never do that, or 6 months ago I could never do that. And I think that's the power of having a community that pushes you, but also coaches that guide you towards something. Like you can actually do that, by the way. Like if you put your mind to that, you can do it.
It's installing belief into people, and I
Yeah.
think that like maybe it's like comes back to like kind of Roger Bannister thing. Like you're seeing people around you being able to do it, so it makes you feel like you can do it as well. And that's what's so good about kind of having that community and having like Sin, like that big huge group. People like there's probably people that have just met through here and now they're really good mates. Like look at Jacob and Jamie, they are thinking about doing a Hyrox together and stuff like that. They probably met like what, 8 weeks ago or something like
A
that.
couple of weeks ago, yeah.
So it's incredible to see, and I feel like again that's what kind of settles your mind when you're in the gym, when you've got people around you striving for the exact same thing and kind of pushing you on to do better and actually having that belief in you.
Yeah.
As I say, it's installing that belief in you, having those people around you pushing you on for that extra rep. It's the coaches, yeah, but it's also the members, the person that you're working with beside your rack. They are pushing you on. They are telling you can get one extra rep.
Yeah.
And then that's just what kind of builds your confidence. And then next thing you know, you're coming into the gym like it's nothing.
Yeah, and that lights us up, seeing
Totally.
people like that, like going for much bigger goals than they thought it was. It lights all the coaches up here.
That's one thing I'd say. There's a lot of people, especially in like the kind of UK, a lot of people underestimate themselves. They want to kind of like close themselves off and they're kind of, I don't know if I could do that, like maybe not have as much belief. But I feel like having that community of people that do believe in you allows yourself to believe in yourself. So it allows you to believe in yourself. So totally, mate. I think it's class.
Yeah. So if you're someone who's a beginner, or if you are someone who's just looking to elevate your goals a little bit more, fitness goals, like if you're wanting to try for your first half marathon, if you're wanting to try your first Hyrox, if you're wanting to just go into the gym and understand what it is, if you want to lose fat, we have a big range of coaches here who can help you with that and instill that belief. That is such an important thing, is injecting belief into you, that we all try and do on a daily basis. But down at Sin, we like that is exactly what we do. And if anyone listening to this is struggling, like where they're at just now, they're in their fitness journey and they don't know where to go, don't know where to start, then drop me a read and a message. Apply.
Totally.
6-week trial. Come in for a free session. Like it's there to try out, and like we back it. The reason we shout it from the rooftops is because it's such a great place and we see the progress that people make within this amazing community.
Totally, and we'll continue to do that as well, because there's a reason why we're doing it, and it is because we believe that it is the best place to come to, no matter what background you've got. Like one thing I was thinking about as well, like we've got Scott, an ex gymnast for Great Britain, and he's lifting like 140 kilos off the floor, and then we've got Linda right beside him doing the exact same movement pattern, but both progressing perfectly, and that's what I think, that's what makes us the best place. I believe that we're the best place in Scotland, because
In the world.
in the literal world. Well, I can't speak for anywhere else, but I do believe that we're the best place. We're the best place in Australia, the best place in Scotland, because we have so much versatility when it comes to strength training and just kind of overall health and fitness improvement.
Yes.
Top class,
I'm
mate.
going to round out the podcast there. So that was
Yeah.
the 10 most common problems people face when achieving their fitness goals, and think that was one of our longest ones. We went into quite a lot of depth because
Definitely.
this is like things that we obviously talk about on a daily basis, and hopefully you took some value away from it, even if it was just one little thing to go and away and implement, or just even think about. Like I urge you to do that one task that we said earlier on. I'm going to just bring it to awareness at the end, and that's the 10 to 15 minutes of thinking, what actually is my goal right now, and why do I want that goal? Because you might end up changing your thought process around it. You might be thinking, I'm actually chasing that because that's someone else's goal, that's my pal's goal, or that's someone on Instagram's goal. Like, think about that, have 10-15 minutes, sit down, think, hey, what's my goal and what's the strong why behind it, because that's what's going to get me there.
Totally agree. Yeah, I think one thing as well, like if we have solved any problems for you, send us over a message and let us know that what kind of problem we've solved for you, and because that means a lot to us. As I say, in many of like the kind of the podcasts that we do, like a message from any one of you guys that are listening is so important to both of us. So to know that like kind of we're helping you guys in terms of like an issue that you've had, that means the world to us. So yeah,
Like, share and subscribe. Love
Peace.
you guys.
Love you guys. Peace.